Among them, Southern tenant farmers and Negroes stand out. Now, I wanted to give both groups a real push up because I knew the terrible treatment they have been enduring. But I also knew that if I moved too fast here, I would lose Southern congressional support for other programs. But this did not mean their future was hopeless. It meant simply that one must be patient and wait for the proper time. One lesson I've learned is that you cannot, just by shouting from the housetops, get what you want all the time. But meanwhile, we've done what we could. And what we've done for Negroes is more than has been done since Reconstruction, where there was bias in federal agencies. We identified it and rooted it out wherever politically possible. The CCC gave Negroes a fair shake. The PWA built them houses, and hospitals, and schools. And for the first time, Negroes like Florida's Mary McLeod Bethune have gotten significant government posts. We did only a little, I will grant you, but it has mattered a great deal because in 1936, the Democratic Party became the home of Negro voters for the first time. A shift that has been important to the party and Negroes. For as their votes increase, so will their influence on national Democratic policy. Well, credit for all these New Deal successes is, of course, owed to many. But those upon whom I have put greatest reliance have been Harry Hopkins and my missus herself. Now, Hopkins and I went back to my New York period. An Iowan, Harry became a professional social worker with a passion to relieve human suffering. He was also something of an anti-social worker and reminded one of a character from a Damon Runyon story. He had a fascination for the horses, for example, and has been known frequently to conduct his staff meetings in a car while on the way to Maryland's Laurel Track. He likes worldly company and lovely ladies, but he's never cared for material things for himself. His clothes often look like they came from a pawn shop. But as my relief director and principal advisor, he has helped me better understand the needs of the nation's destitute. And could he work fast? When the first relief bill passed, Harry set up shop in a vacant lobby and in 24 hours had money on its way to the states. Your state and your region have been multi-beneficiaries of this great energy. For example, the Governor Neese Dam in southern Maryland crossing the Potomac over into Virginia and the wonderful Skyline Drive to the west of us were both built by agencies Mr. Hopkins headed. But my most indispensable associate has been my wife, Eleanor. I fully agree. It was largely she who has brought women and Negroes into the party and has enlarged their role in government. But her key role has been my eyes and ears. With 10 pounds of steel on these legs, well, I cannot get about to see many things for myself. So I've sent Eleanor to the back ways of the nation to learn actual conditions. Now, I taught her to look at people's faces, at their wash hanging on the lines, and look at their cars. She had a real talent for people. She went where she wanted, talked to everyone, and did she learn something? But she was more and has been more than merely my agent. She has been in many ways the conscience of the New Deal, and an effective one too. Hugh Johnson, the NRA head, once told her that his codes set a lower minimum wage for women because that's always been our American practice. Well then, General Johnson, as she said sweetly, it's about time you changed it. And do you know, soon after he did, she questioned sternly our policy of destroying pigs and potatoes to raise farm prices while there were hungry children in our cities. Agriculture Secretary Wallace and I we have tried to teach her the facts of supply and demand, but finally, to end her one-woman crusade, we've had to set up a government corporation to buy surplus commodities for distribution to the poor. Well, after these 6 years, what has been the balance sheet for the New Deal? Now, there have been failures, most notably our inability to restore prosperity. And as every one of you knows, the last summer saw an economic downturn almost as bad as the one in 1929. And my critics are now calling this the Roosevelt Depression. Rather small-minded of them. But on the credit side, there are, I think, 3 major lasting achievements. First, we have established, I hope beyond question, that the federal government must be an activist government, responsible for protecting people against risks of hunger, and unemployment, and old age. And second, besides this new condition for man, we have changed relations between men. And nowhere has this been more important than in the industrial sphere, where we not only save corporate capitalism, we're helping to democratize it as well. And finally, and you know, I would most like to be remembered for this, the New Deal is including the excluded. Negroes, ethnic Americans, the poor, women, workers, and the elderly. After a century and a half, America is finally becoming a working and workable democracy, willing to assure all its citizens a decent life. Perhaps, just perhaps, we have not penetrated to the heart of the existing system, but it now at least has a heart. My friends, thanks for having me, and Godspeed to each of you.